My name is Dave Schubmehl, and I'm a research director with IDC covering content analytics and cognitive systems. And one of the things we've been looking at quite a bit has been the impact of automation on knowledge workers, specifically around information workers. What we're seeing is that this area of unstructured information analysis and the advent of cognitive systems, smart systems, is beginning to help knowledge workers in their day-to-day business. The interesting thing that we've been finding is that it's a very small percentage that actually is getting help today. Something on the order of 10% are really being able to take advantage of all that. We think there's a lot of room for improvement that's going to be happening. And if you look to how Siri has changed over the last 5 or 6 years with Apple, it's gone from being a joke to actually being something useful in a day-to-day, personal productivity. Google now is doing the same thing for Android, and Microsoft is basically getting ready to release Cortana across all of its devices to basically do that kind of work as well. And that's not the only things that are going on. I mean, you've got, IBM Watson trying to help enterprises with different types of applications, especially things like, cancer diagnosis and illness diagnosis, things along that line, so they can help healthcare workers and doctors. One of the ways to think about these types of systems is really to think of them as basically a personal assist, essentially a power tool for the mind. And I think that's one of the ways that knowledge workers and information workers are actually going to, be able to do this, because the reality of the situation is there's so much information in the world today, and it's growing at such a fast rate, nobody can actually keep up with it. And I think having an automated assistant that can surface information to you when you need it and why you need it to help you do your job faster and better is where we're going to see these technologies go over the next couple of years.
Yeah, Dave, can you see any examples or use cases across different industries that kind of really explain or kind of show this type of technology?
Yeah, I mean, on a consumer basis, I mean, I think one of the simplest is you've seen Amazon recommendation systems in terms of recommending books and being able to do that. If we're starting to see systems for researchers to help them do better job in pharmaceutical research and things along that line. So, these are really kind of the next generation of search systems. They're not really so much search as they are discovery tools. Microsoft Delve is also an interesting, a tool working with SharePoint 365 to basically surface information for people on kind of an as-needed basis. So it's early days yet. And I think we've also seen a proliferation of these automated scheduler systems over the last year. In the last month, I think 4 have been announced, where they're doing automated scheduling. You give your email to them and they'll schedule your meetings for you and things like that. I think that's kind of the future of what we're going to see happening, with all types of knowledge workers. The other thing that's interesting is there's a couple of areas where I've seen, really interesting. There's a company called Inside Sales out in Utah who basically helps telemarketers determine what the next best action is to actually close a deal. And they're very successful. They're growing like crazy. Both Salesforce and Microsoft have just invested $60 million in them to help them grow faster. There's another company called Conversica, which is doing something very simple. They're helping auto dealers and auto salespeople basically return emails more quickly for potential buyers, because your auto salesman is probably one of the worst people at returning an email. All right, so what they've done is they've actually created an automated tool that automatically gets the process going, and when somebody expresses interest via email, returns that up, sets the next appointment up, or answers additional information, and basically moves the sales process along. And auto dealers are probably some of the people that would be least likely to want to have automation, and they're actually very excited about this Conversica product. So it's an interesting use of automation tools in a very concrete sense.
Okay, so then if we think about the difference between those knowledge workers today, and maybe folks that aren't necessarily always connected, can you see some value in not only adding these systems, but kind of thinking about how their work's changed over time? So it's gone from having to be part of those structured type of processes to being much more ad hoc in nature. So can you see any kind of connection between these types of systems and helping with those ad hoc type of decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good example of that is the GE Predicts platform. I don't know if you're familiar with the Predicts platform, but it's basically an enterprise asset maintenance tool. And one of the things that's happening in the engine repair market, the turbine repair market, is you've got all of these workers that have been there for 30, 35 years, and they're graying out and starting to retire. And then you've got some people who basically have been there 5 years. So the ones that have been there for 35 years have all this institutional knowledge, and they have all this information in their heads. And what really has to happen is, how do you get those people with only 3 or 4 or 5 years of experience to be that next generation and be as capable? And the Predicts platform really provides kind of a capability to do that. And what it's using is predictive maintenance and predictive technologies, and basically providing recommendations and guidance to those workers to actually help them along the way. And in a lot of cases, they're not connected workers because they're sitting on a shop floor working like that. But that's I think the future of automation as it relates to helping people actually do a better job.